Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth, and today we are talking trash. We're actually talking about solid waste management, the impact it has on the counties, how it operates, the challenges of getting the garbage from your door into the ground and to its final resting place. That will be our topic. Let's find out a little bit about how both the small country version and the big city operation compare and contrast.
Trash. It's something we spend very little time thinking about. When the can is full of things we don't want, we take it to the curb, it gets taken away, and we never give it a second thought. But where does all that stuff go?
Utahns generate about 3.5 million tons of solid waste per year. That's about a ton per person. That refuse ends up in 116 private, municipal, county, or special service district landfills around the state. While their ownership and size may vary, the regulations they must follow do not. Small like Payson City, or large like the Wasatch Integrated Waste Management District in Davis County, all solid waste facilities in Utah are required to protect any nearby groundwater from contamination and regulate the amount of methane gas trying to escape. That means that they all had to dig wells and install monitoring equipment to check the water quality beneath and the methane levels, plus have enough assets on hand to fix a problem if it develops. Those mandates forced Payson to convert their landfill to a commercial one, accepting additional waste from outside the community to generate more revenue.
With the cost of installing the groundwater wells and all of the things to come into compliance, it wasn't an option at that time.
On the other hand, the kind of income that worries the Davis County operation is not the money, but the tonnage on the trucks. When their current landfill reaches the brim, they have no room for expansion and will most likely have to start shipping waste out of the county to a rural commercial location. So for them, recycling has become their primary concern. Davis County recycles green waste and scrap metals, like many facilities, but they go even further.
We have a landfill gas to energy system, so we collect about 800 cubic feet per minute of methane that comes out of the landfill, and we ship that methane over to Hill Air Force Base.
They also recycle household waste like old paint and antifreeze. They have a reuse shed for things like pesticides, paint, chemicals, and so on.
Usable materials we put in our reuse shed, we let people take those out and use it for its intended purpose.
Davis County has also recently opened a landfill thrift store in conjunction with a local charity to keep good items out of the landfill and in the community.
And we actively pull usable items from the waste, primarily the citizen drop-off facility. So bicycles, well, anything you can think of, because people throw away anything you can think of. So if it looks good, we put it on a trailer, we haul it over to the landfill thrift store, and they sell it at a bargain price while providing jobs for people with disabilities.
However, the centerpiece of their waste redirection strategy that makes them unique in Utah is the Davis Energy Recovery Facility. It is a large steam generating plant using garbage as fuel. They actually burn over 45% of their incoming household waste and then sell the steam. Things that don't burn are screened out by a large rotating drum, and the rest is loaded into a hopper and burned at 2,000 degrees. The heat generates steam that is piped directly to Hill Air Force Base to heat their hangars. Best of all, it keeps trash out of the landfill.
We see about a 90% reduction by volume through the waste-to-energy facility. So 10 trucks of waste go to the waste-to-energy facility, 1 truck of ash comes to the landfill.
Both Payson and Davis County facilities have had their permits for about 7 decades, and both of them will be expiring in about 3. With planning, Payson should be able to continue just fine, but Davis County will have to find a new home, which could be a very pricey proposition. For the county seat, I'm Cameron Porter.
Well, now you know basically how both a rural and a metro operation work. But we are just scratching the surface. We're going to drill down for some of the details when we come back with our panel of experts here on the County Seat.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt, and where seeing is believing, there is a place.
Let's be honest, you don't know much about Beaver County. Well, let me tell you about it. It's the birthplace of outlaw Butch Cassidy and inventor Philo T. Farnsworth. Some of the best skiing in Utah is at Eagle Point. You've got camping, Canyon Breeze Golf Course, Crusher and the Tushers, Beaver Territorial Courthouse, snowmobiling, renewable energy, Pioneer Car Show, Squeaky Cheese, ghost towns to explore, best water in the country, Paiute ATV trails, Old Frisco Kilns, horse races, hunting, fishing, and it's a good place to live. Beaver County, mountains of fun. I could tell you more, but why don't you come and see it for yourself?
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking about solid waste management, an area of special districts, county governments, city governments that most people never ever think of. Joining us for our conversation today, we have Kent Fowden, who's the Public Works Director for the City of Payson, part of which duties is overseeing the landfill operation for Payson City. And we have Nathan Rich, who joins us from the Wasatch Integrated Waste Management District, or just Waste District?
Management District.
Management District. The shortened version, believe it or not, of the original name. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. So I want to start with a basic kind of operational question. On the surface, you have a fairly small operation by tonnage compared to what Davis County is handling. But your day-to-day operations seem really similar. If you were explaining to a fifth grader what your day-to-day operation is as far as your duties at the landfill, what would they be?
Well, basically the trash comes in via the local haulers, city trucks hauling the refuse in. It's deposited at the working face, and the equipment operators take over and begin the process of compacting and preparing the working face for the daily cover.
And so you cover it every single day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what would you add to that in a more sprawling operation?
Well, our basic operations are very similar. We live to the same regulations. We use the same technology around the garbage itself. I think what makes our operation a little bit different is we have some other services associated with the landfill, more recycling opportunities, as well as the waste to energy facility, which is unique to our facility in Utah.
So part of that is based on need, and part of what I would like to look at is how you divide waste, because I saw three different distinct operations at your facility. I think I saw at least 5 at your facility. How do you divide waste? What are the categories?
It's category. Our first landfill is a construction demolition landfill. That is non-household construction waste. Anything that comes in commercial or household waste goes to the Class 5 cell.
Okay, and then you have a green waste as well, right?
Correct. We have a green waste recycling that is sorted by yard waste.
Okay, and you divide your waste a little bit differently.
A little bit differently because of the way the waste to energy facility operates. Most of the residential waste goes to that facility first, and a large amount of the commercial waste as well. The rougher waste, the construction and demolition waste, as well as the open top roll-off waste primarily go to the landfill. We also have a green waste recycling facility, so the green waste is segregated from that. And then some of the other, the reuse areas, pulling usable items out of the waste, as well as an area for drop-off of household hazardous waste. So that's also looked at as a separate category of waste, the household hazardous waste and electronic waste.
What I thought was very interesting is this reuse shed that we toured. How did that idea come about to just make stuff available? What was the theory?
Well, I think what's interesting, Ken, I don't know about your operation, but in the solid waste industry, we spend a lot of time talking to other operators and finding out what they're doing. We're both members of an organization called SWANA, which is the Solid Waste Association of North America. We go to conferences and we see what other people are doing. We ask people what's working, what's not working, and I've always been a firm believer. I don't have to have good ideas. I don't have to come up with them. I just need to recognize one, and we find those and implement ones that make sense locally for our system.
So there are a lot of costs. It's not just a matter of a bulldozer and a scraper, and you dump the trash, you drive over it, and you throw 6 inches of dirt on top of it. You used to be basically strictly a municipal landfill, and then you changed your category to a Class 5. Why did you do that?
At the time, the decision was made to make that adjustment in our permitting was we had neighbors, other cities that were tied in with us, and the Class 1 would have kind of changed that scenario for our neighbors.
Okay. And
so with that, the costs of methane monitors, groundwater wells, deep testing wells, there had to be a source of revenue to pay for that.
So basically, as regulations developed requiring you to monitor the effect the landfill is having on the environment around it, you had to find a way to cover the costs.
Exactly.
Now, you've been able to do it in Davis County by just the volume of stuff you move, I would imagine.
Well, we're fortunate that and landfill is a high fixed cost business, so you pay for the basic landfill, which is very expensive. So the higher tonnage, we can bury 1,000 tons with pretty much the same personnel. You could bury 200 or 300 tons per day. So having higher volume is a mixed blessing. It brings in more revenue, but it also fills up the fixed asset that a landfill represents more quickly. But we are fortunate there, but it is always a balancing act between providing services and controlling costs at the same time. So we're not free and clear, but it has given us the flexibility to provide some of those services that we think our residents want to see.
That sets us up for a good break. We'll take a break here on the county seat. We'll be right back in a minute, continuing our conversation about solid waste management.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. You belong in Kanab.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
Color. It's something that can be seen. But have you ever wanted to reach out and touch it? Experience it. In San Juan County, Utah, color comes to life like nowhere else on earth. Color can be more than an abstract. Color can be your gateway to a new world. Visit San Juan County and explore the past, present, and future in a way that you've only dreamed of. San Juan County. Color your experience.
I'm a Utah's own dairy producer. I care about the health of my animals, and I care about the quality of food we produce.
Because when it comes to providing quality dairy products, I understand the importance of Utah grown and raised.
And the jobs we enjoy are vital, because Utah's Own supports our communities.
As a consumer, I look for Utah's Own products, because Utah's Own is good for me, and it's good for Utah.
Keeping it here at home, Utah's Own.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking about solid waste management. I do want to let the City Council in Payson City and the Director of Public Works understand that I did not single-handedly give Kent the promotion. He is the Public Works Supervisor, and I misquoted him, so I apologize for that. I do want to pick up where we left off, though, because you kind of pointed to the fact that your space is a finite resource. And so is that part of the reason that you divide so much of what you do as far as your management facility goes?
Absolutely. And what's interesting, we took over an old landfill, is why it is where it is. So it's a very valuable asset to us. When our landfill is closed, who knows, maybe we'll be going to Kent's landfill, and he's probably close to 90 miles from us. But when that landfill's closed, we'll be hauling our waste from somewhere between 80 and 150 miles to a regional landfill somewhere, which adds substantial cost. So one of the benefits that the waste energy facility has had for us is we reduce the volume of waste by about 90% through that facility while recovering energy from the garbage. So it has substantially extended the life of that landfill. What you really need is the foundation of any solid waste management system is a good quality landfill.
So 90% of that basically gets turned into steam for Hill Air Force Base.
Right, 10 trucks of garbage go to the waste energy facility. We generate steam, which we sell to Hill Air Force Base. 1 truck of residue or ash goes to the landfill.
Wow, that's
quite
phenomenal.
a reduction.
So the future, let's advance ourselves 30 years into the future. Does Payson City still have a landfill?
In theory, right now, yes. As long as we continue to adhere to the state policies and in protection of the environment, new design, new technology, and in any lateral expansion, yes, I think so.
Is there lateral expansion in your future?
No, sir. So 27 years or 30 years, we'll still have a landfill, but it will look substantially different.
How so?
The hope is our waste energy facility is currently 27 years old, and it handles about half of the waste that's generated within the district. So best case scenario, as some of those emerging technologies improve, become more cost effective, that facility will be replaced by a different technology, but a larger waste energy facility. Failing that, we will be building a transfer station, and the large quantities of residential and commercial waste will be transferred some distance to a regional landfill. And we'll continue to maintain the current Davis landfill for the hard to transfer items, really to support the residential drop-off, mattresses, couches, the things that don't transfer well.
So, you know, I'm thinking of all these post-apocalyptic movies, you know, that the earth is covered with trash. I mean, is there ever that theoretical thing of, well, someday we'll just run out of space? Because that's what all our kids are thinking right now, is that we're going to run out of space.
Well, with technology, our landfill is in infancy. In the future, we'll be where Nathan's at now, with energy recovery, steam generation. There's so much involved with the technology, and waste energy is becoming more and more viable. They study it, they watch it. Technology will change that. So it's just ongoing.
So, you know, you both have planted wells. You both are monitoring methane. You are merchandising methane to help cover your costs. I guess that leads to a question. You're monitoring for a reason, and the question is the what if. And so what if something happens and the water all of a sudden isn't so clean? What do you do?
Go ahead, Nathan.
There's a very well-formed, pretty strict set of regulations promulgated by the EPA, unfortunately overseen by the state. I want to call them the Division of Solid and Hazardous Waste, but the legislature changed their name last year. I think they added radiation to
So
those
theirs
folks.
is getting longer while yours is getting shorter. Okay.
More work for those folks. They do a great job regulating us, and they work with us to step through those issues. Starts with increased monitoring, and then you start looking at what things we can do, what corrective actions can we take to resolve the issue. And at the end of the day, there's a requirement to make sure that there's no contamination leaving the site and we're not having a negative impact.
So somewhere you have to have the pool and resources to fix something if there's a problem.
That's true. We're both required to post financial assurance for the operations that we have.
There is a extreme financial mechanism in place.
And so is that something the state has been pooling, or the individual waste management facilities? Is it like an insurance pool of some sort?
It's actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's per operator. It's the operator's responsibility.
Yeah. So including commercially operated landfills, they also have to post, they have to demonstrate to the state that they have the financial wherewithal to cover the issues that they have.
Wow.
Including closure of the landfill and a requirement for 30-year post-closure care.
Okay, which sets me up perfectly for my next question. We will be right back after this commercial break talking about solid waste management.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
The weekends just never feel like they're long enough. By the time you get to a destination, you're worn out and you may need a vacation to recover from your last vacation. The solution is closer than you think, and that's just what you need. You can find the desert at Little Sahara, the cool refreshment of Yuba Lake, escape to the green of the forest on the Nebo Loop. Make your escape to Juab County. It'll change your family forever.
Unlimited opportunity for adventure. It's all about knowing where to look. ATV adventures, rock crawling events, art festivals, and wildlife events. The opportunities are limitless. Pick your adventure in Millard County.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking about solid waste management. You know, when you ended up, Nathan, at the end of the last block, you talked about 30 years of post-care. So that leads to the question, what are the future uses of a land waste facility? I mean, you know, is it going to be like in the movies that it's a subdivision someday?
There's a different closure plan for every facility, but you can never build on top of waste. It settles forever. It'll generate methane. It'll generate less methane over time, but they'll be generating methane for 300 years. So our facility will be a series of open space and walking trails. There are some facilities that do golf courses, but the important thing is to get a good cover on it. limit water going into it, control gas coming out of it.
Our facility will probably be a walking path or a bike path or something, but we're all in this together. It doesn't change. The ground rules are the same for all of us. The landfill's there.
I guess the question is, what would you do without it?
That's a good question. I don't know. Till they start shipping it into outer space, I don't know where it's going to go, but to a landfill.
So, I guess if there's one thing that you felt that people didn't understand about what you do and what your operation's about, what would that question be? What would yours be, Nathan?
I think it comes down to just understanding the complexity of the system. The landfill is there. A lot of people talk about zero waste, but in our world, we have 1,000 tons of garbage that shows up at our facility every day, and we have to figure out the best way to handle that. So it's just gaining some understanding for the complexity of the system, and hopefully we're providing the services that people like to see us provide.
Yeah, I agree with Nathan. I think it's just understanding the necessity of landfills. Believe it or not, in my opinion, I feel they add somewhat to quality of life to have that close to a population. As some people may call them unsightly, they are in fact a necessity, and being able to transport closer to home saves dollars at the end of the month. It has to go somewhere. If it's not locally, if it's not Davis County, Payson City, it's going to go somewhere, and the costs associated will go up dramatically. So again, I think just the understanding and the thinking of how complex they really are. Does recycling really help? I mean, there'd be if I were a commercial operator saying, I don't recycle, bring your stuff to me so I can charge you by the ton. But are you guys, does recycling really make a dent? In our operation, the most viable is the green waste. We do recycle steel, things of that nature, but to go into full-blown recycling at our facility is just not practical.
Well, gentlemen, thank you. You have given us a great insight on waste management. I am going to appear with a new set of respect and reverence the next time I take my little dump truck and go out to the landfill, because I realize how much work goes into it. Thank you for joining us on the County Seat. Remember each week that we bring matters to you that are important to your life. Local government is where your life happens. Be involved, be informed. We'll look for you next week on the County Seat. Thanks. If you'd like to share this video with your friends, well, you do that right here. If you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you do that over here. If you'd like to interact with us on the County Seat, that happens over here. If you want to watch the next episode of the County Seat, you can catch it Saturday night at 11 or Sunday morning at 8:30 on ABC4 Good for Utah.